you mute again?
Nope. All right, good stuff. How's everybody doing? Great. Man, I'm excited. What a phenomenal group and what a phenomenal day. I got to tell you, every time I have an opportunity to attend an event, I was sharing with Mr. Quintaro a little earlier, he asked me, have I been doing much traveling? And I really haven't been doing that much travel this past year. I've had my kids for the summer and my children for the summer. And really, you know, as they're getting older and wanting to spend more time with them, and I just realized that I think the last time I did the Super Saturday was in May. And that's rare because I'm used to traveling 3 or 4 times a month. And so for the last Super Saturday in May, I did a team conference in July, and I'm here in South Carolina. I'll be doing the October event for Believers and Achievers, and that's it for the year. I'm going to just focus my energy on doing, again, what I'm about to share with you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'm actually going back to work. I recruited myself back into Legal Shield and starting to do the basics in the same massive, all-out massive attitude that I had a few times. I mean, I did it my first month in Legal Shield. I did it again in my 4th year. I mean, I went hard. I did it again in my 7th year. I went hard. I did it again in my 10th year in the business. I went hard, and I'm about to do it again. And when I say, I mean, I've always worked my business. I've always worked in my business, but I'm talking about going all out massive action. I'm talking about for 30 days, having a 30-day week. Anybody ever have a 30-day week? See, you need to. You need to have a 30-day week. Go all out massive action, take no breaks. I mean, when I have a 30-day week, there is no weekends. There is very little breaks. It's just all out massive action. It's doing everything for 30 days. And then, I mean, I'm talking about going to work and not looking up. Does that make sense? Nose to the grindstone, all out massive action. I'm not distracted by anything. I'm just focused on the thing I'm doing. You can't get my attention right now. I'm in the thing. Does that make sense? All right, I won't be distracted by any issues. I'm focused in doing the thing. As a matter of fact, I flew here on an airplane. Actually, a couple of them. Because I had a connecting flight out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And the thing about an airplane, and everyone can relate, whether you've been on a plane or not, and you know, and I'm sure many of you have been on a plane. Our business is not too different from taking off on an airplane. When an airplane takes off, it's all out massive action. It's all out massive thrust. Is that right? That's the focus you got to have on your business. To give you an example, you're sitting on an airplane, and this is our business. And you're on the airplane, and you're sitting in that seat. And they close the doors. You have to turn off your devices. Is that right? And you're sitting in the seat, about, you know, knowing that plane's going to be taking off soon, and it taxis, you know, comes out of the gate, taxis to the runway, and then, you know, and you might have to wait depending on how crowded it is and the time the plane's taking off. But finally, you're at that point, and you know it because the plane pulls up and it stops, right? And then you hear the engines rev up. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Right? And you hear it rev up, you know something's about to happen. And the brake's on because you hear the, you know, you feel like the plane wants to go. Is that right? Yeah. You're on the plane, you feel like they're really, it's revving up, and then they take the foot off the brake. I don't exactly know what they're doing up there, but it feels like they're taking their foot off the brake, right? I'm thinking car language, I don't know how it works in the plane. But they release the brake, let's put it like that. And the plane starts to take off, and you get thrown back in your seat a little bit. Is that right? Yes. You're feeling momentum. You're thrown back in your seat a little bit, you're feeling momentum, and then the plane's running down the runway, you feel it gaining speed and about to take off. Is that right? And as it gets up off the ground, you feel yourself like that feeling in your stomach. Is that right? Like, don't fall. Is that right? Don't fall. But you feel the plane is lifting off the ground, you feel it in your gut. That's that momentum, and it's taking off. Is that right, guys? Yes. Just as the plane comes off the ground, I mean, it's in the air, do they ease back on the throttle?
No.
No. That's called crash and burn. Is that right? No, it's full throttle. It's full throttle. And that plane stays in full throttle all the way up until it gets to cruising altitude. Is that right? But before it gets to cruising altitude, it's got to go through some turbulence. Is that our business? Yes. You're going to do that when you get started in this business. At the beginning, you're going to experience some things you've never experienced because you've never been on the journey you're about to be on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And sometimes it's not expected. It's not expected because when you hear the success stories, the testimonials, when you read the profiles of success, when you basically see the people who've had success, you see the successes, but you don't hear often about the challenges on the way to the success. So when you experience some of the challenges, you didn't expect that. Nobody told me about this program. Nobody said I would have this bump and have that bump and be jarred and this and that and be a little rocky. No, I didn't expect that. So because you didn't expect it, you're not sure if this is supposed to happen. And it can be so much so that, maybe it just deters you from, making it happen. But that plane has got to go through some turbulence as it moves through different levels or different atmospheres. Does that make sense? Until it gets to 20,000 feet, and now you're above the challenges. Does that make sense? And now you're at cruising altitude. And it's only when the plane gets to that point the pilot can ease back on the throttle. Is that right? Yeah. And you're at cruising altitude where things are a little bit smoother. That's kind of like our business. But it's all out massive action for a period of time. It can be 30 days or 90 days. But it's all out massive action. Now, some of you might have gotten to that point already. You're at a place in your business where you were at cruising altitude, but now it's time to take it to another level. Is that right?
Yes.
It's time to take your business to another level. And you might have been struggling with that. You might be struggling with that right now as you try to figure out, I got to get my business to the next level. Maybe it's going from the $100,000 ring to the $250,000 ring. Maybe it's deciding to get the ring. Maybe you've been struggling at around $70,000, $80,000 a year. That's a struggle. Is that right? I don't want to appear like I'm being cocky. You're like, all you're making is $70,000? Because quite frankly, $70,000 is actually nationally in the United States, according to many surveys that have been conducted, the level at which people feel comfortable income-wise is $74,000. $74,000 a year in the United States would pretty much be comfortable. Comfortable. I'm not saying that's not wealthy at all. That's not even rich. But that's comfortable. Does that make sense? $70,000. But let's say you've been at that level and you want to get the $100,000 ring in Legal Shield. In order to get the $100,000 ring, you have to earn $100,000 within a 12-month period of time. Any rolling 12 months that you earn $100,000 in earnings, you earn the $100,000 ring. And Legal Shield doesn't mess around with that. If you earn $999,000 and 99 cents, it's not enough. You have to at least earn $100,000 or more to get that $100,000 ring. They don't mess around with that. So you're struggling to get there. You want to move your business to the next level. It might not even be that high. You might want to qualify for executive director. You've been a director too long. How many have been a director too long? I want to qualify ED. Is that right? This is what I'm sharing with you right now. You've gotten to the director level. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's the highest paid position in Legal Shield. So even if you're at the director level and you feel like you got to start over, you had a team of, a couple of hundred people, and now your team is down to like 20 people, or maybe it's just you again. Nothing wrong with that. Because it's okay to have to start over again, but now you're starting over as a director. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
You're at the highest permanent pay position, and now you're starting to do the business. You're going to basically say, okay, I'm turning it on. I'm going to basically go all out massive action. I'm going to start over again, but I'm starting as a director. The money's huge. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
So understand something. It took your engines on your plane to get to the level you're at now. You're going to need a new set of engines to take your business to another level. If you haven't gotten to the next level in your business, it's because you've been counting on the same engines. It ain't going to work. In order to get to a different atmosphere, it requires a different engine, a different set of engines, more engines. You got to go back to work. We got to recruit. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
We got to recruit. We got to add people to the business. We got to expose people to this opportunity. And there's an unlimited number of folks out here looking for an opportunity. Would you all agree?
Oh, yes.
Unlimited number of folks looking for an opportunity. You see, we're all in this room. We're Legal Shield associates, and maybe we're guests, where there's quite a few guests in the room that may become Legal Shield associates. But this is what I know. I know that for me, when I was exposed to Legal Shield the first time, I wasn't looking for Legal Shield. I was looking for something, but it certainly wasn't Legal Shield. As a matter of fact, I was so not looking for Legal Shield that I said no to it when I was first exposed to it. How many of you in this room that are associates, before you were exposed to Legal Shield, woke up one day and said, you know, I think I want to go sell legal service plans? Nobody. I don't think there's anybody in this room that basically had a desire to be in the legal services industry before someone came along and interrupted your path. You were on a path doing whatever you were doing, and someone said, Legal Shield, and put this information in front of you and invited you to take a look. And you looked, and now you're here. Why did you join Legal Shield? Because it wasn't because you was always looking for this. Is that right? I mean, how often is it that we expose somebody and they take a look and say, I've always wanted to sell legal plans. I just didn't know who was going to be selling them. I didn't know he was out there, but I always wanted to do this. Right? It doesn't happen. But why did you join Legal Shield? Because prior to being exposed to Legal Shield, what you did have is a desire to have more. A desire to have time, freedom, a desire to have financial flexibility and time independence, a desire to be, you had goals, aspirations, dreams. Is that right, guys? Yes. And when you were exposed to Legal Shield, you finally saw a vehicle that can help you have the things you always wanted when you knew the job couldn't provide that. Is that hot or hot?
Hot.
You realize that here's a vehicle through the building of a business like this that I can create some additional income right now. Through advanced earnings, I can create some right now money. I need some money right now. No, it's not enough for me, I can build it and it will come. No, I need to earn it as I'm building it. And then you can have a business where once it's built, it can still come in even when you don't work for a minute at a time. See, I love this business because it allows me to exercise my inner thing. And my inner thing is this, and I'm not sharing it with you. My personal inner thing is, I am ambitiously lazy. Right? That sounds like an oxymoron. Let me tell you how, let me define what ambitiously lazy is, the Cliff Malloy definition of ambition. I'm willing to work hard as whatever it takes for a period of time to look forward to the opportunity to do absolutely nothing. How many like that concept? Is that right? I have that in my planner. I have it in my planner. Circle, nothing. On this day, 0, nothing. But I gotta earn that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh yes.
And what this business gives us the opportunity to do is to work hard. You can work as hard or as slow or as fast as you want in Legal Shield. But your results will always be the indication of what you're putting into it. Does that make sense? Yes. Your results, in Legal Shield, your paycheck is the best measuring stick for your effectiveness. You don't have to tell me how active you are, because if I know how much you're earning, I know how effective you are. Does that make sense?
Oh yes.
Your paycheck is your measuring stick. So we talk about incomes all the time in Legal Shield, and we talk about incomes, but it's not because we're the most materialistic people in the world and it's all about money. Money isn't everything. We know that. How many agree money isn't everything? There's a whole lot of riches of life that come before money. But when you don't have any money, it's hard to recognize those riches. Does that make sense? It's hard to recognize those riches. Money isn't everything. Money can't buy happiness and it can't buy love. I know that, but it will put you in a much better bargaining position. But getting back to my point, we have to become students of this game. And if you become a student of the game of building a Legal Shield business, then when you develop a greater understanding, everybody say understanding.
Understanding.
When you develop a greater understanding of how Legal Shield works and building this business, then you will have a stronger belief. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
As a result of understanding some things about our membership, you'll have a greater belief in the membership. Having a greater understanding of our compensation plan you'll have a stronger belief in our compensation plan. Having a better understanding of yourself and how you work and what motivates you will give you a greater belief in yourself. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
When you start to believe more in what your abilities are, then you'll start to engage and become more of what you can become. Does that make sense? And when you have a stronger belief, then you'll be willing to make a greater commitment. Commitment. So this understanding leads to belief, which leads to a stronger commitment. And when you make a stronger commitment to engage in the activity. See, now I'm making a commitment to engage in the activity. And the activity is what will ultimately bring you what? The results. See, everybody wants the results. Everybody wants the results. And the results leads to the income. And the greater income leads to a better lifestyle. Is that right? Oh yeah, I want to live rich, I want to be this, I want to have that car, I want to be able to have choices. Is that right? But if you basically, now I moved it forward, but let's back it up. I want the lifestyle, but just imagine that if you want the lifestyle, in order to have the lifestyle, you have to have the income. Is that right? In order to create the income, you have to be producing some results. In order to produce the result, you had to engage in what? The activity. So if you're not engaged in the activity, you're not going to get the result, which is going to lead to the income, which is going to lead to the lifestyle. But if I'm not producing the activity, it's because maybe I haven't made a commitment. Now, I got to tell you something. Even if you're part-time and spare time in Legal Shield, you don't have to be full-time to be fully committed to your success. You don't have to be full-time to be fully committed. You can be spare time and be fully committed in the time you give this business. Is that hot?
Yeah.
But you've got to be committed. You've got to be all out, sold out. And in order to have that commitment, you have to believe that what you're doing is right, just, and real. And you have to believe in our company, you have to believe in our product, you have to believe in our marketing plan and system, and you have to believe in yourself above all. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
But that gets stronger when you understand some things. So today, I'd like to give you a little greater understanding of some things with the hope that it leads to everything else. Is that hot or hot?
Hot.
So, I know that was kind of deep, but I hope everybody can follow. By the way, I have a habit of talking fast. I know, really? It's not because I'm from the Northeast, it's because I have a lot of information to get out in a short period of time. So if I talk too fast, well, keep up. All right, come on. I'm sorry, you gotta just work it out. So, building your business. I'm about to share with you some stuff. You could use it, you could not use it. It's up to you. It's all a choice. I shared on the conference call the other day something conceptually how I see success in Legal Shield. Because Legal Shield, we have a system in place. Everybody say system.
System.
A system is nothing more than a way of doing things. Does that make sense? A system is just a way of doing things. And there's several ways of doing things in Legal Shield. But you have to first identify and crystallize what you want out of Legal Shield. Once you identify what you want in Legal Shield, then it makes it easier to decide which system to work in Legal Shield. If you want to do group business and go after companies to market this as an employee benefit, it requires a different system to succeed there than the one to build an organization. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh, yes.
The systems that are necessary to build a team of associates and everything that's involved in that is different than the system required to be successful in marketing to companies. Rob Best is the #1 producer of personal memberships in Legal Shield. All of Legal Shield, not just South Carolina. And you'll notice he's not here today. Is that right? You don't see him that often at conferences. Is that right? Is he committed fully to his business?
Oh, yes.
Yes, he's 100% all out, sold out. But he's not at the briefing.